Hey, what's up guys? So this is Cumberland tournament day. Yeah, we figured out how we did. We have at the very end of the tournament video, we made a full breakdown of me and Austin both sat down at the resort and filmed how we caught all our fish, where we placed, what we weighed. We had all that at the very end, so stick around to see how well we did. But we definitely had a very good practice, and it showed in our tournament day. Now, I will say, I'm sorry about all the audio in the last two videos for practice days, and for this video, I actually left my microphone at home for this whole Cumberland series. So yeah, I'm sorry the audio is not very good, but it is what it is. Enjoy Cumberland tournament day. Sure he's short, but I'm just gonna double check just to make sure. I'm sure he's less than 55. Something. Fairly sure he would be a short smallmouth even in Missouri. check and make sure he's 15, but I'm sure he is. Let it fill up first.
That's 15 and a half. But he's 16.
No.
15 and a half.
15 and a half. You're pretty much spot on. Oh well. I'm here. I'm ready. I'll get it. You get the fish. Take care of the fish. I'll get the jerk bait.
No, I got it.
Good one?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready.
I am ready.
Put it in the water.
There's 3. Sweet. I don't know.
Okay, 15 on
Check him. He is really close.
pliers. Thanks. Keeper. We're keeping him. He's so close it ain't funny.
Alright. We need to have a magical, nice little bit in order to Good one. Yep.
Oh.
Real close.
Get him in.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Coming up. Get in the net. Yes!
Good one.
There we go. Just net him for a second.
Jeez, that is one heck of a fat spotted bass.
We'll measure him, but
That is a weird spot too. He doesn't have any spots.
muddy.
He's a spotted bass without his spots.
Measure him.
Measure him just in case.
Yeah.
Oh, there, now his spots show up.
He's been out of water. Not about him being out of water, they'll change colors. He's 14.
Okay.
God almighty.
Yeah, he's a fat 14.
Yeah, he is. A little slug.
Alright, we got 30 minutes. Fortunately, we're only about 7 minutes from the ramp, so time is 2:34. 34. No, I was just doing 45. God. Oh, come on. Come on. Get in the water. No. Come on. Net him, net him, net him, net him. Yeah! Woo! Let's go! Woo!
Yeah, so Cumberland is wrapped up. We ended up getting 25th place overall out of 109 boats. 11 pounds, 12 ounces, right?
11, 12.
11, 12. Wish I could have contributed to some of that, but alright. That's alright. I'll be a good net man. Yeah, you want to talk about how we caught him?
Yeah, so we've been down here for a total of 3 days, and for practice day, which was Wednesday, we had sunny days, and we were more on the upswing of things, where the weather was starting to get a little bit more consistent. And as it was heating up, the lake was also starting to come back down, which the lake just recovered from a flood that was approximately 40 foot up. As most of you know, we're not from the Kentucky area, but from just what we heard from locals, it was up over roads.
At least 30 feet high.
Yes, and it was up over roads and stuff. So, coming down to this lake, I was expecting a muddy water lake, but also a pre-spawn movement towards the back of the creeks. And we kind of had that bite put together, but the watercolor just didn't match what we had in mind. So we kind of had to make a change in order to adapt to the conditions that we had. But like I said, it was sunny, and the water temp, when we first got down here, was about 60 degrees. And throughout the day, we ended the day, it was 65 degrees, and we thought it was going to get getting progressively warmer. Well, every day we noticed it was actually, in some of the major creeks, is actually dropping. And so that kind of put a hinder on things. But on the first day, I come down here, I picked up a crankbait rod, which was a Ward Special from Lew's, paired with a BB1 Pro. I was throwing it on 12-pound fluorocarbon to get the most depth out of it. But for bait, just a simple old red crawl from Spro, nothing special. And I was just mainly targeting around trees and stuff. It seemed like more on day one, it was more location than it was a bait or presentation type deal. You just had to make a precise cast into those trees in order to get it bit. But the crawler, it produced a couple of keepers, but it caught a lot of shorts. And since we were pre-fishing for a tournament, we were just mainly looking for those 5 giant bites. And we just knew progressively as the days went on, which I'll come to later, the crawler or ward bite just wasn't working out. But we started looking around in a fishing creek, and we come to a little spot, and there's some chunk rock transitions, and there's little cuts, and in those cuts there's waterfalls coming in. And in those cuts also, since the lake was up, there's some brush in the water. The water had a haze to it. I mean, it was good color, but you only had about 3 or 4 foot visibility. And we got in there, and I started throwing that crankbait a little bit, and the bite just it just wasn't there for the crawler. So we decided to adapt, and I decided to slow down a little bit by throwing a jig and a shaky head. And come to find out, on the first day, the shaky head was actually the bait for the quality fish. And what I thrown on it I was throwing a 20-pound fluorocarbon at a high-speed lose light reel in the 7.5-to-1 model, so I could hoist them out of that brush that I was flipping around. But all I had was a 5/16 Crockett Gator with a big bite bait Cinco. Brand don't really matter if Cinco's made as long as it's green pumpkin. But you know, we was dyeing the tails on them, and what I was mainly concentrating on was just, you know, brush and those little cuts that I discussed earlier. You know, they had little rock transitions in there, but on the outside of those cuts, on those little secondary points, I guess you would call them secondary points, but going into those cuts, you know, there's some brush in there, and that's where those bigger females were concentrated. You know, our quality bites started coming together. But on the second day rolled around, I mean, it was flip-flopped. You know, we started off, he caught a keeper on the A-rig right off the morning. That was the first bite we had, and you know, we thought the bite was going to continue. And actually, we started to notice the water temp was actually cooling down in that creek. You know, the day before it was a little bit more clear, and it was also 65 degrees. Well, the second day rolled around, and it was hovering around 63, 62, and it got a little murkier. And what I found so strange is, you know, we didn't have no rain or nothing like that, and I got to wondering, you know, if they were drawing water, you'd think the back of the creeks would actually start cleaning out. Well, in fact, it was opposite. It started dirtying up in the back of those creeks. But we started off the day, you know, doing what we did the day before to catch those quality bites, you know, targeting those cuts and stuff on those chunk rock banks. But we ended up getting on a bite on the more slate rock, your big chunk rock, with a jerk bait and A-rig, and it seemed like we had a lot more bites on the second day. Just there wasn't as many quality bites. You know, we still caught a few keepers that day, but we ended up having to adapt to a jerk bait, and I was throwing the Pro Blue Mega Bass or Pro Blue CB custom bait, you know, to get those bites. But you know, we kept fishing the same spots, the same type of banks, and it just didn't seem to put together. So I mean, we knew the fish were changing, you know, daily. And by the time tournament day rolled around on day 3, we had a front come in. It started raining right in the morning, and I started off with spinnerbait in back of Fishing Creek, and you know, we caught a few shorts off of it. And you know, we fished that creek. I mean, we fished it out. We fished those cuts and everything, and the fish just wasn't there. So we decided to jump ship on that pattern, and we decided to go find a little bit warmer water. Like I said, you know, Fishing Creek this morning was about 60 degrees. So, you know, throughout those 3 days, it was actually getting colder. And, you know, during this time of the year, you want to be looking for the warmest water you can. And the warmest water we found was 65 degrees in White Oak Creek. And that's where we caught them at in day 2. We started catching, you know, finding the fish again. So we went back in there, and I decided to pick up the jerkbait and that Pro Blue, the Tennessee Skeleton model, and the Mega Bass or CB custom bait. And we started to pick up a few. We caught a few shorts, but you know, we just noticed the fish were a little slower, and you just had to keep a line in the water. But anyways, we dialed in on the color, and we dialed in on the type of banks. But what we noticed today was they were a little bit shallower. The keeper fish were a little bit more shallower today. So you know, we improvised and adapted to those changing conditions. And today's main ticket to catch our 11-12, and we had one that was about 3 pounds, and it was our kicker fish. But you know, we had bites all day on this jerkbait, and all it was a Table Rock Special. I can't think of the name.
Table Rock Special.
Just a plain Jane Table Rock Special. You know, here in the Midwest and the Ozarks, it's a very popular color for overcast. And like I said, you know, if you remember earlier, I said it was raining in the morning, and the overcast, you know, stayed around. So I threw the shaky head and threw the jig, trying to just figure them out all over again. Come to find out, they were still holding to the same relative general areas. They were just, you know, not in the creeks more than they were, you know, just on. It was more of a bank bite today than it was, you know, a locational deal. Mm-hmm. But just as long as you had deep water nearby, and brush was an important thing. You know, it helped, but it was just kind of more random today. it's more chunk rock banks, your 45-degree chunk rock banks. And watercolor, I noticed. Watercolor is very important. You want it a little bit more clear because the jerkbait is a more clear water presentation. And so, when you're fishing that jerkbait in stained water, you really, some people claim, you want to slow down and wait for them to look, or, some people claim you want to work it faster. But come to find out, it was the more clear water and the warmer water, today. Seemed like from 63 to 65-degree water was the main ticket today. But it was like I mentioned before, it's more of a bank bite. But we ended up getting our 5 today. We hit a lot of bites. Had a few good ones get off, but that's how fishing goes. And next time we'll get at them a lot more harder. But you can ask for a better day of catching 5 good fish. But Travis, is there anything else you want to add?
Not really. I mean, got my next tournament. Fortunately, is not with you, but you didn't get registered on time. But I'll be back with Hunter again on Bull Shoals in 2 weeks. So stay tuned for that video coming out.
I tried getting registered
point.
for that. I was excited for that event.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Just I got busy in my
Just
social
missed the
work.
cutoff date for that register. That's right. Oh well. But should have Bull Shoals coming out soon. By the time I finally get this video edited, I'll probably already filmed Bull Shoals. I'm way behind on my editing. As of filming this, right now, I haven't edited Kentucky, Smith, or any of these practice tournament videos. So I got a lot of work to catch up on the channel, but yeah.